One of my most anticipated movies of the year, guys, is Dune. This is a movie that is, of course, pretty anticipated by a lot of people because it's another one of those movies by Denis Villeneuve, who has made countless amounts of movies at this point, becoming a real household name in filmmaking as a fantastic director, and I would say he's getting up there as one of the best in the world currently. So let's talk about everything that we know so far about Dune. So in an article, guys, that was written by Stephanie Long, Chris Gates, and Rick Marshall of Digital Trends, Frank Herbert's Dune is one of the most popular, influential science fiction novels ever published, and Oscar-nominated Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival director Denis Villeneuve is bringing it back to this big screen. Villeneuve has promised that his adaptation of Dune will be a more faithful take on the source material than prior adaptation, and he's assembled an all-star cast to make it a reality. So the first look, Warner Brothers Pictures released the first look at Dune in April via a preview of the film published by Vanity Fair. And the image, guys, shows Timothy Chalamet, as just a basic image of him walking on a sandy beach, and there's some images in the background, or it looks like some type of aircraft that is flying around in the background. Just a really basic image, but a really beautiful shot in my personal opinion. The preview included some quotes from Villeneuve and star Timothy Chalamet about the experience of working on the film, as well as the first photo of Chalamet as Paul Atreides, the young aristocrat who finds his life on the desert planet Arrakis, thrown into chaos when his family is targeted by rivals. Now, guys, I'm not extremely familiar with Dune as a book. I never read the book, and the original adaptations that were made into feature films, I didn't watch those either, so I'm going into Dune completely blind. I'm one of those people who is very excited about this, mainly because of Denis Villeneuve, but also now that we're starting to see some other images about Dune, I'm starting to get a little bit more hyped about it. It's starting to look pretty awesome as far as a science fiction film coming to the big screens. I'm super excited about it. As far as the cast is concerned, guys, in February 2019, reports confirmed that Legendary Pictures added a superstar trio to Dune's cast. Josh Brolin, who menaced the Avengers as Thanos, will play Paul Atreides' mentor, Gurney Halleck, and then meanwhile, Star Wars actor Oscar Isaac will trade his X-Wing for a sandworm as Paul's father, Duke Leto Atreides, and Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa, will reportedly play Duncan Idaho, the only character to appear in all 6 of Herbert's Dune novels. And so that's one thing I'm really interested about, guys, is Dune is a series that is spanned over 6 novels. So the question is Denis Villeneuve just kind of starting this and then they're going to continue onwards with other directors moving forward, or is he in this for the long haul? If I know anything about Denis Villeneuve, he reminds me of Christopher Nolan. He's probably, one of those directors who kind of just wants to work on a number of different films, but I think it would be awesome for them to really build a franchise here out of Dune. It'll be interesting to say the least. And as far as all the cast, guys, incredible cast that was chosen up to this point. I mean, it's incredible what we've seen so far as far as the cast is concerned. You can't get much better than what they're really, pulling out and getting all of these different actors. And now as far as actresses go, this is also something kind of interesting. So the aforementioned actors will join Oscar nominee Timothy Chalamet, who did Call Me By Your Name and Beautiful Boy, who will star in Dune as Paul Atreides, the central figure in Herbert's original novel. Actress Rebecca Ferguson from Mission Impossible and The Greatest Showman will play Paul's mother, Lady Jessica, a royal concubine with a rebellious streak. As if the cast wasn't filled with enough familiar faces, Dave Bautista, no stranger to either space operas or Villeneuve films, joined the cast of Dune in January 2019. Around the same time, Thor and Good Will Hunting actor Stellan Skarsgård was announced in the role of Dune villain Baron Harkonnen, the story's vicious antagonist and head of the rival family that rips apart Paul's privileged life. And then finally, Ferguson's The Greatest Showman co-star, Zendaya, will also play a role in the film, as well as No Country for Old Men villain Javier Bardem. The latter will play Stilgar, the leader of the indigenous population of the desert planet known as the Freemen. So, guys, this cast is incredible. So you're going to have some actresses as well as actors. Mainly, we're seeing more actors than actresses, at least announced at this point from this. But from the actors that we're getting, absolutely incredible. And as far as an actress is concerned, Rebecca Ferguson, I mean, she's great as well. I mean, really a stellar cast. I mean, honestly, guys, this really has Oscar nominations written all over it at this point. And so I'm just hoping that it's that good. As far as the story goes, for those of you who don't know the story of Dune, Dune takes place on the desert planet Arrakis, the only place in the galaxy where spice, the most valuable substance in the universe, can be found. In the world of Dune, the drug-like malign is a cornerstone of human society and also facilitates interstellar travel by imbuing its users with the form of pre-science. The feudal empire overseeing the various planets will do anything to control the supply of spice, making it a powerful bargaining chip in the empire's politics. Herbert's Dune follows the noble family Atreides as they take stewardship of Arrakis, the harsh desert planet where spice is produced. Their place of power soon puts them in the crosshairs of rival families, and young heir Paul Atreides eventually finds himself on the run after an attack on his family. So with that, guys, you know what this kind of reminds me of a little bit? Even though obviously this is science fiction 100%, one thing that kind of you start thinking about is Interstellar, because they're talking about interstellar travel and such, and different planets and things of that nature. So it might feel somewhat like Interstellar at certain points. Obviously, a totally different story, but that's what it kind of reminds me of. This is almost like Denis Villeneuve's Interstellar to Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, obviously, who made that. And the legacy, Frank Herbert's Dune is one of the best-selling science fiction novels of all time for a reason, but it has had a difficult time making the leap from page to screen. As chronicled in the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, filmmaker Alejandro Jodorowsky first tried to turn the book into a film in the 70s, but was stymied by a lack of funds and a script the size of a phone book. David Lynch brought Dune to theaters in 1984 with Kyle MacLachlan, Patrick Stewart, and Sting in key roles, but his take was a commercial and critical failure despite its ongoing cult appeal. A Sci-Fi Channel miniseries released in 2000 gave the story more room to breathe and hewed closer to the source material, but failed to make much of a long-term impact. Early reports suggest that something Villeneuve will adjust in his adaptation of Dune. While Villeneuve respects Lynch's vision, he told Yahoo Movies that the upcoming film will be going back to the book and going to the images that came out when I read it. So it's interesting, guys, that, really any adaptation that's happened from Dune up to this point has pretty much failed at this point, just hasn't really garnered the success. And I think that people are wanting to see a successful Dune, something that's a real take, within as far as a movie is concerned. Whether it's, funds from the past, I mean, obviously the technology now, guys, that we have as, in the filmmaking industry, there's a lot of opportunity there. To make something really special, especially something like Dune. And then on top of that, guys, you have someone like Denis Villeneuve, as well as the stellar cast. It's got Oscar nominations written all over it, but is it going to hit home? Because, of course, guys, with Denis Villeneuve, some of his movies hit, others just don't hit as well. His Sicario did great, Arrival did great, but all of them have, obviously pros and cons within the fan bases. And a lot of people will say some people didn't like Arrival or didn't like the ending of Arrival. People didn't like Sicario and how they, kind of where they took that franchise, even though they made two of them. And obviously, Denis Villeneuve only directed one of them. But still, people just, there's mixed emotions with some of these movies. And I think Dune might be some more of that, kind of like mixed emotions. But I think if it gets nominated for a number of things, guys, it's going to be the true Dune adaptation that we've all been waiting for. And up to this point, guys, we know a lot, but we know a lot of nothing if you really think about it. As far as we can kind of base a lot of speculation upon, the Dune books and such, and kind of lay what might be the Dune movie. But when you really think about it, I trust Denis Villeneuve. We saw Blade Runner 2049, and that blew my expectations significantly, even though once again it was kind of one of those torn types of movies where there was a lot of people who liked it, a lot of people didn't like it. I was one of the people who absolutely loved Blade Runner 2049. I don't think that it got the respect it deserved, even from the box office perspective, and it was a beautifully shot movie. I think Dune, if anything, guys, is going to be a beautifully shot movie. It's going to be, and I think the acting, I would assume, is going to be absolutely, next to none, some of the best that we've seen this year. But that's what I'm really excited about, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Dune in the comment section below. And as far as everything that we know so far about the movie, like I said, there's not a lot that we know, even though we can start grabbing at straws as to what this movie may all encompass. We do know, though, from Denis Villeneuve that he is going to be taking from the books pretty drastically, so it'll be interesting nonetheless. But like I said, guys, what do you want to see in the Dune movie coming later this year? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Dune content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.